Welcome to the Back to Life podcast, where we explore living well, loving well, and being well. I'm your host, Nicole, and I invite you to tune in for inspirational conversations to get you back to life. Let's get started. Welcome to the Back to Life podcast. If you've been following along, this is part 3 in our powerful Seasons of Life podcast series. And today we are stepping into summer, which we have deemed the harvest season. Now, when we think of summer, what comes to mind? Usually warm sunshine, longer days, vibrant colors, and a sense of freedom, right? In our personal lives, summer is often seen as a time of celebration, of abundance, and joy. It's when things come to fruition, when we start reaping what we've sown in earlier seasons, whether that's in our personal growth, relationships, career moves, or creative projects. But here's something I've noticed in both my own life and in conversations with many of you. Sometimes we get so caught up in working for that next thing, chasing that next goal, or preparing for potential storms that we don't even know how to fully enjoy and embrace what we've been given right now. So today we are going to be diving into how to truly embrace your summer season without falling into exhaustion, guilt, or constant anxiety about what's coming next. And to help me unpack this beautiful but complex season, I am thrilled to welcome back LaQuesia Love. Welcome, LaQuesia.
Thank you, Nicole. I'm so excited to be back to talk about summer.
Yeah.
This season holds such a special place in my heart because it represents both the joy of growth and reward.
Mm-hmm.
But also, if we're not intentional, it can become a time of overcommitment, performance pressure, and then burnout.
Oh, yeah. So that's really true. So, as a kid, summer meant freedom, right?
Yes.
School's out. Yeah, because school's out, days are longer. We're feeling energized and doing all the things outside, having pool parties, barbecues, you name it. But as adults, summer can almost feel as overwhelming as the holiday season because we tend to fill our schedules with so much, especially if you have children, like vacations that sometimes need a vacation to recover from. Sometimes social events every weekend, because it's outside and you can go back outside and enjoy each other and your family reunions, weddings, graduations, all those things. Plus, trying to maintain all of our regular responsibilities on top of that. I'm just exhausted just saying all of that.
Absolutely. That actually sounds like my life right now with all the things on the calendar. But you're right, though. There's a fascinating parallel between the external summer busyness and what happens in our internal summer seasons of life. Mm-hmm. When we enter periods of abundance or success, there's this tendency to overschedule our blessings too. Saying yes to every opportunity, trying to maximize productivity when things are going well, and feeling this strange pressure to make hay while the sun shines, as the saying goes.
Oh, I've never heard of that before.
But what many people don't realize, Nicole, is that even good seasons require rhythm and boundaries. In nature, summer isn't just about endless growth. It's also about deepening roots, finding shade when needed, and preparing systems to sustain the abundance. There's wisdom in that pattern that we often miss.
That's really profound. I've never thought about it that way. And when you think about it, that even our good seasons need structure or could benefit from structure and intentionality. Let's get started by exploring what summer season truly represents in our life. When I talk about the summer, I'm referring to those periods where you're experiencing the results of your previous hard work and patience. Maybe you're in a season right now where the doors are finally opening after years of knocking, and you're seeing answered prayers, relationships are flourishing, or things are just generally feeling good after a difficult stretch. And that's the kind of abundance that is absolutely worth celebrating.
Yes, summer seasons are beautiful gifts. Mm-hmm. They might look like finally getting that promotion after years of dedication, getting a bonus, or a relationship that feels secure and nourishing after a period of healing. Or creative projects that are receiving recognition, or even a stretch of good mental health after struggling with anxiety or depression. These seasons are precious and are meant to be embraced.
Yeah.
But what people don't always talk about openly is that abundance and success can actually be overwhelming. Have you ever wanted something so bad, worked for it for years, and then when you finally achieved it, you experience this unexpected feeling of, oh no, now what? Or even imposter syndrome.
Yeah, you know what? We talked about that a little bit in the last episode. I remember when this podcast finally started to gain a little traction after 2 years. Well, I was sort of consistent. I'm consistent now, but I wasn't consistent at first because I wasn't sure what was going on, Now, there is a little bit of growth, and instead of just enjoying it, my first thought tends to be is, oh my gosh, can I maintain this?
Yeah.
Do I deserve this? What if I just stop? What if I don't do this anymore? What if I don't have any more ideas? What if these are not helpful to anyone? I'm just, my mind, you can get kind of stuck in your head a little bit.
Sure.
And we can work so hard to get to a place of peace or success. And then sometimes we unconsciously sabotage it because in some strange way, struggle feels more familiar than success.
That's exactly it. And there's actually a psychological term for this. Upper limit problems.
Oh.
Gay Hendrick talks about this in his work, how we all have an internal thermostat for how much success, love, or abundance we believe we deserve.
Oh, that's the book, The Big Leap.
Yes.
Yes.
When we exceed that unconscious limit, we often do things to bring ourselves back to our comfort zone, even if that means undermining our own harvest season.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You know what? That is a very real thing. Why do you think we do this? Why are we like this? Why is it just so hard to receive good things? I mean, why do we always have to feel like we're in punishment mode?
Yes. I think there's several layers to it. Sometimes it's tied to early messaging we received about whether we deserve good things. For some people, it's about the fear that comes with having something precious. Then you suddenly have something to lose, right? And for many of us, particularly women and people from marginalized communities, we've internalized that we need to earn our work through constant effort and productivity.
That is powerful right there.
Yeah. But here's what I tell my clients. Sometimes the most revolutionary act is to permit ourselves to simply enjoy the good season. To receive without feeling like we have to immediately produce more just to justify it.
You know what? That is really deep right there. To permit ourselves to enjoy the good season. It's okay. It is okay to receive, just as much as it is to give. I think many of us need to hear that today.
Yes. And it's actually a spiritual principle too. Across many faiths, there's a time for planting and a time for harvesting. God reminds us in Ecclesiastes that there's a season for everything, a time to plant and a time to uproot. Yeah. When it's harvest time, your job isn't to immediately replant, it's to gather, to celebrate, and to be nourished by what has grown. And you know what? There's wisdom in honoring the natural rhythm of seasons.
I like that. I really do. So now let's switch gears a little bit and talk about the challenges of success, avoiding burnout with that.
Yes.
And that can be one of the biggest challenges of the summer season, because here's the thing that I've experienced myself and seen in so many friends and in some of the listeners. When we're in a season where things are going well, there's this subtle pressure that we have to keep producing at the same level or higher to prove that we deserve the success that we're experiencing. It's almost like we're not in control anymore. We're being driven by other people, their preferences and different things like that, where it's kind of like ride the wave that you have.
You're touching on something that's so important. Our culture reinforces this constantly. We're bombarded with messages about this hustle culture, right? Sleep when you're
Mm-hmm.
dead, no days off, rise and grind, all suggesting that constantly productivity is the goal and rest is somehow failure.
That sounds exhausting.
Exhausting. But if we look at nature again, even in the height of summer, plants don't produce 24/7. They have cycles within the seasons. They respond to the rhythm of the day and the night. There are times of intense productivity and times of conserving energy, even within the most abundant season.
Exactly. And I think there's this misconception that if we ease up even slightly during good times, everything we've built will somehow collapse. And that is not true. It's this idea that we will always have to be doing more, reaching higher, producing faster to maintain the success that we've achieved. But not everything that grows needs to be harvested all at once or in the same way. You can actually ruin the fruit by doing that.
That's so good. And some of us don't realize that summer isn't just about working and producing. It's also about strategic rest, integration, and enjoyment.
Yeah.
Think about fruit ripening. It actually happens gradually in its own timing, right?
Yeah.
If you try to pick an apple too soon, it's not ready and won't nourish you properly. If you wait too long, then you miss the optimal window. There's wisdom and discernment about timing, even in abundance.
I love that metaphor. So let's look at what this looks like practically. How do we enjoy the summer season without burning ourselves out?
That's a great question. Here are some practical approaches that I often share. First, pace yourself intentionally.
Okay.
Create celebration rituals, practice presence, and build in recovery periods. So let's go back to pacing yourself.
Okay.
Not every opportunity that comes your way during a successful period is meant for you.
Ooh.
Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should.
I say that all.
Yes. Learn to be selective even amid abundance. Ask yourself, does this align with my deeper purpose and values, or am I just saying yes because I'm afraid the opportunity won't come again? I was in a women's conference this past fall, and Jackie Hill Perry was there speaking, and this is what she said about her life. She reflected on just really taking time for herself, but also for her family. She said, if I'm ministering to other women more than my own daughters, there's a problem. Yeah.
Gotcha. But that's true, though. It's kind of like we have to look at what our first responsibility or our sphere of influence is right here instead of kind of looking over it to help somebody else, I like
Absolutely. That. And then next, create celebration rituals. Instead of immediately jumping to the next big goal when you achieve something, build an explicit practice to acknowledge and celebrate what's already happened. This could be as simple as a special meal, writing a gratitude journal, or gathering friends to mark that moment.
I like
Celebrations help us to metabolize success in healthy ways.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Then practice patience. Practice presence. Summer is meant to be savored. You are actually tasting the fruit of your labor. Oh, that's so good, right?
Yes.
Or are you forced on maintaining and protecting your success so that you're missing the joy of the moment? Regular mindfulness practices. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I was just like, you don't want to miss it.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that. I tell my clients, peace is found in the present.
Yes.
And for my clients of faith, I say peace is found in God's presence. So it's really important. It's a nice mindfulness grounding to say practice presence, be here now, kind of. It really does matter.
Absolutely. And then finally, build in recovery periods. Even athletes in peak performance know that recovery isn't optional. It's essential. Schedule regular periods where you deliberately dial back efforts to allow your mind, body, and spirit to replenish. This isn't laziness, it's strategic sustainability.
Oh, those are so practical. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. So, what about boundaries during the summer season? I find that when things are going well, people often expect more and more and more from you. What do you think?
Yeah, that's such an insightful observation. Ironically, success often brings increased demands on your time, energy, and resources. Everyone wants a piece of your harvest.
Oh my
This is
gosh.
where boundary setting becomes even more crucial than it was during the leaner seasons. In
Yes.
summer seasons, I encourage people to audit your commitments regularly.
Ooh,
Just because you can help with everything doesn't mean you should. What deserves your precious energy and attention right now?
yes.
Practice saying not now instead of no. Sometimes opportunities are good, but the timing isn't right. Learn to defer rather than to decline can preserve relationships while protecting your peace. Build buffers into your schedule. Don't
Mm-hmm.
book things back to back. We know this with
You
sessions,
can't.
right?
That's what I was going to say.
Leave margin for the unexpected joys and challenge that comes with abundance.
Yeah.
And then delegate where possible. Summer seasons often mean you have more resources, whether financial, relational, or otherwise. But use them wisely to lighten your load where appropriate.
Yeah, those boundaries are really good. Like I said, I love we were talking about don't do back to back. I'm like, okay, sure. No, but I imagine that, these boundaries that you just listed, they can help prevent that burnout that we've been talking about. Do you feel like there are warning signs people should watch out for that might indicate, that they're not managing their summer season in a sustainable way?
Absolutely. Here's some of the red flags that your summer season might be sliding towards burnout. Find yourself unable to enjoy achievements because you've immediately focused on what's next. You've experienced physical symptoms like headaches, digestive issues, or disrupted sleep despite external success.
Yeah, a
You
lot of
feel
people.
anxious. Yeah, I'm hearing that a lot more recently. You feel anxious when you're not being productive, even for short periods. Your relationships are suffering because you're all work and no connection. You stopped engaging with activities that once brought you joy because you're not productive enough. And finally, you feel a constant sense of urgency even when there are no actual deadlines. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
me.
me too.
If you're experiencing these signs, it's time to reevaluate how you're navigating your summer season before autumn arrives sooner than you anticipated.
Okay. Well, now we're going to transition to gratitude and trusting the season that we're in. One practice that I found incredibly grounding during times of abundance, and actually in abundance as well as when things aren't so plentiful, is cultivating deep gratitude. Because sometimes we get so focused on protecting what we have or pursue or what we're pursuing, what's next, that we forget to fully appreciate what we currently have and what's right in front of us right now.
Yeah, you're so right. And gratitude is absolutely transformative. Practicing gratitude literally rewires our brain patterns.
Yes.
When we regularly focus on what we're grateful for, we strengthen neural pathways that make it easier to notice the positive aspects of our experience. Over time, gratitude becomes less of a practice and more of a default orientation.
I love that. That's fascinating. And summer seasons can sometimes bring their own kind of social pressure. When you're doing well, there's this strange tendency to either diminish your success, to avoid making others uncomfortable, or to feel like your version of success isn't impressive enough compared to what others are achieving.
Woo, exactly. The comparison trap is so dangerous in summer seasons. Either we feel like we need to hide our light so others don't feel bad, or we fall into the trap of thinking our harvest isn't significant enough compared to someone else's. But here's the truth. Each person's summer season looks different because each person's purpose and paths are different. Your
Yeah.
harvest is meant to nourish you and those connected to you. In specific ways, comparing your tomatoes to someone else's watermelons makes no sense, right?
No, it doesn't. It makes no sense in our lives either, So I love that. That's such a perfect metaphor. It reminds me of the quote, comparison is the thief of joy.
Mm.
Because in summer seasons, especially, protecting our joy becomes essential. There's something powerful about expressing gratitude, not just for the good things themselves, but for the actual journey, including the difficult parts that brought us to this season of abundance. It's like, you like to think of it as taking a walk. Your life is taking a walk. Some people are running and not walking, but we take a walk, we can kind of take in, and along the journey, we can, just soak in the goodness that we see along the way.
Absolutely. True gratitude isn't just about saying thank you when things are easy, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's about recognizing the value in all of our experiences.
Yeah.
The winter seasons of struggle often prepare the soil for good summer seasons of abundance. When we can be thankful for the entire journey, we can develop a kind of resilience that helps us navigate all the seasons with more grace.
No, I love that. That's so profound. It reminds me that gratitude isn't just about the harvest itself. It's about trusting the season that you're in, because even summer doesn't last forever.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it touches on another important aspect of navigating summer well, understanding that every season serves a purpose, and every season is temporary. Summer will eventually transition into fall or autumn, just as winter eventually goes into spring. Mm-hmm. This doesn't mean we should have anxiety about the future, but rather we should savor summer fully and precisely because it won't last forever. Yeah. When we trust the natural rhythm of seasons, we can fully be present in each one without clinging or resistance.
Yeah, I think that's so liberating to know that you don't have to desperately cling to summer or constantly worry about when it will end. Instead, you can fully inhabit it, knowing that each season brings its own gifts and challenges. Yeah, so if you're in a summer season right now, don't rush through it. Mm. Don't diminish it. Don't compare it. Just receive it fully with open hands and an open heart.
Yes. And remember that receiving abundance well isn't selfishness. It's stewardship. When we allow ourselves to be truly nourished by our harvest, we have so much more to offer others from our overflow.
Oh, that's wonderful. LaQuesia, thank you so much. This conversation has been so rich. And as we wrap up today, I'd like to leave our listeners with a question to reflect on this week. And here's the prompt. How can you fully enjoy and embrace your current summer season without rushing to the next thing or diminishing what you've already harvested? That's something to just kind of pause and just really think about, So, LaQuesia, do you have any final thoughts for our listeners who might be in their summer season right now?
Yes, Nicole. First, that was such a powerful question. My final encouragement would be this. Remember that rest is productive. Mm-hmm. Celebration is productive. And joy is also productive. Mm-hmm. Don't forget to pause and enjoy the beauty of each season. Every season has purpose, and none of them will last forever. Trust the process, and when your harvest arrives, give yourself full permission to receive it with gratitude.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom again with us today. For everyone listening, if this episode resonated with you, we'd love to hear about your summer season experiences. What are you harvesting right now? What are you learning to receive in abundance? Share with us on Instagram at BeWellWithNicoleG or at LoveTherapyDFW, or just leave us a review and tell us how these conversations are impacting your life. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss our final episode in the Seasons of Life series next week, where we'll be talking about fall, which is the season of transition and release, or that pruning season, as we mentioned earlier. We'll explore how to navigate change with grace, how to know how to hold on to, what to let go of, and how to prepare for the winter that follows. So until then, remember that your harvest is meant to be enjoyed. This is Nicole with the Back to Life podcast. Be well, and I will talk to you soon.